Hello and welcome. In this lesson, we are going to be setting up the Box Chaser game. And this is going to be a unique game using JavaScript in order to create a grid, and then using the keyboard actions of the user in order to maneuver through the grid to select the box that's green and moving through the grid. We're going to make it all dynamic with JavaScript. First thing that we need to do is set up our basic HTML. So we're going to try to keep this at a minimal as possible because of course we are focused on JavaScript. So we need a main container area. We're going to call it game area, creating a div. Also just below that, let's create another one and we can call this one, this is where our score will go. So we can keep score of what's happening within the gameplay and assign this one a class of score so that we can select it within our JavaScript. And for now we can put a 0 in there. We're also going to need to apply a little bit of styling as well. So coming into our CSS, let's set some dimensions for the game area. And we want to try to make this dynamic. So whether we adjust the width and the height, we want the game to adjust as well. So we'll start out with a width of 800. And we're going to make all of the grid boxes 100 by 100. So we try to keep it within a 100 dimensions. So if we do 800 by 200, that will give us 16 squares within our grid. And then if we adjust that, that will adjust accordingly. We also need to set some styling for the score. And I'm trying to go through this really quickly as you probably want to set your own styling and you can adjust the styling as needed, of course. And the objective of the game is going to be to move your box. So we're going to create an element and give it a class of box. So this is the main player object. Position that as absolute so that we have the ability to move it around. Setting that as a width of 100, height of 100 pixels as well. And we can also set a background color of red for that element. And we're going to set the left and top position dynamically with JavaScript, so we can skip that part. Next is going to be all of the squares. So we're creating a grid with JavaScript. So we want to create a bunch of squares. So setting their position as relative to each other. We can also add in a border so that we can actually see our grid. And we can give it a small border, give it a width. And because we want to stick to the 100 by 100, we've already set a border of 1 pic. So we need to keep it within those same dimensions. So that's why I'm setting it as 98. And of course, if you don't have a border, you can set them at 100 by 100. We're also going to set the display, and we can set that to inline block so that they stack next to each other. And then a little bit of styling for the text to align it as center. I also want to vertical align the text, so align it in the middle. And in order to do that and set that, we need to set our line height. So our line height can be 100 pixels. And our font size, how about we make the font size 2em or 20, or we could do it 24 pixels. How about we keep with pixels? And a color for the font, make it a kind of a grayed out color there. So now we've set our box, our score, our game area, and there's one last class that I wanted to add in, and this is the active class. With JavaScript, we're going to be selecting one of the squares at random and applying an active class to it. And this is the class, this is going to be objective for the player to maneuver to this square and get over that square, and then we'll remove the active class. And this is all going to be done with JavaScript. So now that we've done quite a bit of styling, and of course there's not a whole lot to see because we are focused on JavaScript and we're going to do most of the visuals and the display content using JavaScript. So go ahead and set up your basic game area, and coming up next, we're going to be using JavaScript in order to build out our game board and then also add all of that wonderful functionality that we can with JavaScript. So that's all coming up next.